Welcome, Buckeye Nation, into another edition of the OHIO Podcast Sunday Night Roundtable Show. I am your host this evening, the Wild Man, Chris Wilds, and we have got a absolutely loaded panel for a loaded show for you tonight. Joining me are Dr. Corey, we have Buckeye Bart, and former Buckeye great EJ Underwood. That's right, the champ is here, guys. Fellas, we got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot of it's going to have to do with that young man who is just to the, I guess would be the left of us, the right of your screen. We're diving head on into reactions from yesterday's press conferences with wide receivers coach Cortez Hankton, superstar Jeremiah Smith, who had everybody talking across college football yesterday. We're also going to break down the first two Buckeyes to lose their black stripe because you know what that means. The competition is heating up in Columbus. So, Buckeye Nation, before we get going, I just want to go around. EJ, how are things going tonight?
It's going good, man. Hey, I'm glad to be on the show with you guys, and I look forward to having a lot of fun with you guys tonight.
Buckeye Bart, how are things rolling over there in your neck of the woods?
Well, no tornadoes tonight like last Sunday. Was it Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, me and Chris were on here Thursday, and he lives in Marion. I live near Mount Gilead, and he's west of me, and he hears this tornado sirens. Like, then his power went off a little bit, and then like 15 minutes later, I hear it, and we actually had one touchdown near our house. I
had one just north of town.
Yeah, but you said the champ is here. Like, he's here, but Corey's already been here like many times. I don't know what you're talking about.
Corey, how are things going tonight, Dr. Corey?
You know, I was just about to cut on Bart. Now I got to rethink this. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it anyway. I was actually depressed because Bart was here. but then I saw EJ is going to be here, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm pet right back.
Absolutely, and we are not alone tonight, guys. We have a great group already in the chat. Jennifer's in the chat, Sage, Ohio. Tyler, of course, Mean Green. Good to see you guys. Buck Vader, our insider, is in the chat as well. We have Dom McClure in the chat. Deb and Paul are in the chat with us tonight. So, guys, hang on because we're going to get things rolling. We got a really great show, and the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we are going to listen to just a little snippet of the Cortez Hankton interview from yesterday. So, I think the message is pretty clear, and I think when you hear this, you're gonna find that to be true. Ohio State's wide receiver room, we already knew it was elite, but the standard is not dropping one bit with him coming in. And if anything, Hankton to me sounds like a guy who wants to take a loaded room and make it even better, even nastier. So we are going to go ahead and hear what the coach has to say.
Well, first and foremost, I love winning and I love being the best. And so as a competitor, that's not going to change. And so when you walk into a place where the culture is already set, it becomes easy. Because when you're coaching young men who embrace being coached, embrace doing the hard things every single day, you know, there's always going to be opportunity for growth and development.
What's it like to inherit a guy like Jeremiah?
It's a blessing. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. You know, he's a generational talent. But more importantly, he's a fine young man. He's a great kid. And he yearns to learn football. He yearns to be coached. And he's like that every single day. He's been a sponge. You know, we've put a lot on his plate, but he's handled it well.
How have you tried to take him to an even higher level?
Just challenge him to be more of a student of the game. Embrace it all. Learn conceptual football. Being better in terms of catching that ball and transitioning into a ball carrier and being explosive that way. And it's shown. And so I'm excited to see how he continues to grow.
All right, so that was the coach. He talked a little bit about Jeremiah Smith. If you caught the whole press conference, which I'm sure all of you guys did, he talked about things like yards after the catch, about building depth, about building toughness. So, guys, I just want to kind of go around, get maybe one bullet point that you guys each took away from the press conference, and then we got a few questions I want to discuss about what you guys heard yesterday. And after that, we're going to listen to a little bit of Jeremiah Smith. So, EJ, What's one of the things you took away from the coach's comments?
I think when I first initially heard it, he actually like had me excited. Like it was like, oh my goodness, how he's talking about, I want to bring big play action. And anytime you guys touch the ball, you got to think about getting to the house. Just having that energy, just what he's like in front of the media, I could not imagine what he's like behind closed doors. He seems like he's a big, high energy guy, and he's coming from LSU, and LSU, like you think about it in the last like decade, Ohio State and LSU, in my opinion, has had the top best receivers to play in the NFL. So it's all about being a playmaker, and if you're not a playmaker, then what are you doing at Ohio State there? Because all these guys are 4 or 5 star recruits have been the men at their said place. So that's what I would love, because even when I used to play receiver, that was my mentality. Not one or two people are getting me down on the ground. Yeah, I'm catching the ball and I'm trying to get to the house. So just having a coach like that, bringing that new mentality, I think is going to be infectious, and it's going to rub off to the other guys and these young players that we got coming in. They get an opportunity to see it, Jeremiah, do his thing. And even when he said, he had me cracking up, he was like, man, like Jeremiah is so physically big. Like he barely touched him and almost flew over it. And that just had me cracking up, because that lets me know, like, yeah, Jeremiah, he's a prototypical size. And Cortez said he is the most gifted physical receiver he's ever had the opportunity to coach. So being at those two places, LSU and now at Ohio State, that is, this guy, he's been around some big time players, and that's saying something. So I just love what he brought to the press conference about like having the guys with the mentality. Every time you get the ball, you're trying to take it to the house and score. And I love that.
No,
Mark,
I have to agree 100% with EJ. It's awesome, but how lucky are we that we go from Brian Hartline, arguably one of the best recruiters, teachers in the game, to Cortez. Um, but how lucky is Cortez coming in here? He has the opportunity to coach the greatest player of college football. But not even that, but the greatest college football player is the hardest worker on your team. And that speaks volumes that he is above and beyond everybody else because of his hard work. And guess what? That rubs off on your teammates, your other wide receivers. It shows you, say, this guy's the best and he's still outperforming everybody. So Cortez just needs to polish. He doesn't need to be teaching a lot of things because Jeremiah Smith's done that, been there, but just polish the edges a little bit. And I think when he said yards after catch, that's one of the polishes we're talking about. It's like, okay, you're a great receiver, you can get open, you can catch, but what are you going to do after you get the ball? That's what makes him going to be a complete elite receiver, and he could go down as the best wide receiver ever to play college football.
but Bart, he's going to run, because doesn't he run like 24 miles an hour?
Yeah.
I'm like Chew, so it's a difference, but it just a player like that. But Cortez has got to be so happy of where he's at, and how did LSU let him go? I will have no idea. But we're happy to have him, and it's making me excited of what he can do to our program. So,
Corey, what's something you took away?
Well, first I want to say he's extremely impressive. Listening to him talk, he's very articulate, very smart, knows what he wants. And I think I took away a little bit of this. It's like subversive, I guess, is when he talked about the yards after catch. That has been a problem. Now, granted, some of that's play calling, some of that's whatever. It's not like our guys can't do it, but that has been a little bit of an issue, I think, that we didn't even really focus on last year. The fact that Hankton has come in already, he's been here a couple months, whatever it's been since he's been hired, meaning that he's already had those talks with Ryan Day. He's already had the talks with the offensive coordinators, Arthur Smith, and he's already had those talks. He knew coming in what we could improve on, showing me his hard work and his ability to go study and say, hey, look, this is a great room. How can we improve it? And I love the fact that he's not like intimidated by the fact that Hartline was such a legend here as a coach. He's coming in thinking he's confident in himself. He knows he can improve the room even further than what our standard really is right now. And I got Jeff Hafley vibes from Cortez Hankton. When I first heard Halfley in a press conference in 19, I said, "Oh man, this guy's going to go places." I know Hankton's been around a minute, but still, so would Halfley at the time. Hankton coming in, I'm like, man, we're going to lose this guy to be an offensive coordinator here not too long in the future because he's very impressive.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing for me was just the fact that, you've got that, like you guys said, you got the best player in the game out there right now. And they are finding new and creative ways to challenge him to be better. They're not just sitting back and being content. They are being aggressive with him. So, that being said, EJ, Jeremiah Smith, considered by many already the best player in college football, is it right for Hankton to keep pushing him or finding new challenges for him, or should they just kind of maintain the status quo, so to speak?
You gotta turn it up to another level, because when you have the ability that Jeremiah has, and I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him, but I get the sense that he's a student of the game and history. So he recognized by what he did, even as a true freshman, that was pretty special. And then, coming off last year, with another great campaign, he just want to take it up to another notch. And as a great player, why wouldn't you want to be coached hard? Like I want a coach to take me to another level. Cortez, he had the opportunity to play a couple years in Jacksonville. So he's a former pro receiver. So he knows the ins and outs. His career stats might not tell you, but I could tell that he's very cerebral with the game. So when you have a like think about the receiver room, they had two guys that played in the NFL, right? So that's two different opinions and two different visions of how to see the game. And as a player, I would be like just drooling, like I'm a kid at Thanksgiving because I get like two coaches, with that type of experience to take me to a different level. And I truly believe you can't let off the gas because I bet you right now Jeremiah's thinking Heisman, and if he wasn't thinking Heisman, then shame on him. But I would be thinking Heisman. So like now I get a new coach who can take me to a different level. What if Cortez sees something that Coach Hartline didn't see, that Brian didn't see, right? So now like I have like two different views and just to be pushed to greater heights, man. That's what any top great player will want.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, sorry, Bart, but
No.
EJ, yeah, I think you nailed it on the head with it. This guy, he's thinking Heisman. He may not tell you he's thinking Heisman,
Yeah.
but he's thinking Heisman. Bart, I want to go a little bit different direction with the question for you on this. We heard him talk about the depth in this wide receiver room and the athleticism in the wide receiver room during his full press conference. Does that change your confidence in the Buckeyes passing game this year at all?
Now, because the depth we had last year. What changes my confidence in the passing room is a quarterback having another year under his belt, be able to see plays that he didn't see before. And that reared its ugly head, obviously, against Miami in the playoffs, where he had some pass rush, and the first thing he did was drop his eyes. Um, he's going to see that now, I believe. That step from first year to second year is huge. Just like in the NFL, your rookie, your second year is huge. I hope he has to take that step because he's got the weapons. Um, that depth in there in the receiver room is crazy. Even the people that we lost that went somewhere else, can you imagine what that room would be if they didn't? Um, but I'm hearing great things about Chris Henry Jr. But just Brandon Ennis is another level. Um, he has got a room that could obviously is the best in college football, I believe. It was last year, and it could be again this year. But when you have Jeremiah Smith on there, it's easy to say it's the top one. But yeah, Jeremiah reminds me a lot of EJ back in college, where EJ was thinking about the Heisman too back in the day, but he fell a little
No.
short.
Yes.
He got closer than I did, so that's a good thing. So.
So, Corey, we heard him talk about the yards after the catch. Do you think this offense is about to get a lot more explosive than what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I think you can tell that by the people we got transferred in as well. They are yak guys. They're guys who they're quick twitch, speedy guys who can get open in a phone booth, who can work the slot and just hammer the safeties and the linebackers over the middle and in the seams. But I absolutely think we'll see more cross routes, more mesh, more just things to open up lanes for other receivers. I think Jeremiah Smith, while he will get his touches because you'd be stupid not to, he will also clear a lot of lanes for a lot of other guys. There's no safety in the country that's going to just ignore him and say, "Okay, my corner's got it." So it's because he's just that good. But I do want to say one thing. I hope Ohio State fans honor Jeremiah Smith more than just a player, and just he's a great player, made great plays. Because I mean, it's so rare, man. A guy, he's probably getting offered crazy money by teams like Miami and whatnot, and maybe even more than we can give him. And he stayed the course. He's loyal, and he just works his tail off. He's a leader and an example for others. He's a great kid, like Cortez was saying. I mean, honestly, in that aspect, Cortez didn't say anything we didn't already know, but I'm glad he acknowledged it. I just hope we can look back and say, yeah, he was a great player, but man, what a great representative of Ohio State as well.
And we're going to touch on that after we talk about his press conference as well. But so I got a question for all three of you, because you've all mentioned the other players in the room. Which wide receiver, and we'll start with EJ and go just clockwise around, which wide receiver in this room right now do you think is the most underrated?
I'm not gonna call him underrated because he has had a chance to get out there yet, but I am very, very excited to see Legend Bay. Like Legend Bay to me is gonna be like a game changer. You put him, you can line him up in the slot or even out wide. You get this man or get this kid the ball in space, and he's gonna make some stuff happen. So I'm very, very to see what Arthur Smith is going to do with him and how Coach Hankton is going to take his game to the next level. So very excited to see Legend Bay coming up.
No,
Well,
the most underrated I think is Brandon Ennis. We know what he could do, but when you have Carnell and Jeremiah, he kind of got forgotten last year. And with so many young and unproven guys, he's going to be learned to step up. He's already a great leader, a great work ethic, and I think Arthur Smith's going to use him as a weapon this year. And I just think people are going to sleep on him. But when you have a safety in a corner double teaming Jeremiah Smith down the sideline or something like that, now you have Brandon Ennis coming right behind him at the flat or a 10-yard route or something like that. He's going to have a monster year, I hope. And for us to really go far, he's going to have to. But I think he's the most underrated right now.
Corey.
I think right now it's Kyle Parker. I think it was a monster grab from LSU. I think he's going to be extremely successful here. I think I like his skill set for what we do on offense, and I just think he's going to make his impact known. It's going to be one of those quiet things because all the focus will be on Jeremiah Anderson. And, Kyle's quietly having a really good year. I think that's what's going to end up with him.
Yeah, I actually tend to lead with you as well, Corey, with Kyle Parker. And we'll bring him up again a little bit later in the show. But before we move on to Jeremiah Smith,
I do want to agree with EJ, though, real quick. I am excited to see Legend Bay.
Well, sure. Yeah, because he's not really a wide receiver. He's not really a running back. He's just the ultimate weapon on offense. They're going to be able to do so much with him.
He's got that Ted Ginn speed on him.
What I'm really most excited that we have not seen is a swing pass out of the backfield with Legend Bay and having a linebacker trying to cover him. We haven't seen that in so long, and if we can get that, it's our defense has always struggled with running backs out of the backfield, and if we can get Legend some touches out there, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was about to say he reminds me of Percy Harvin. When Percy was down in Florida, oh my goodness, like matchup nightmare, and I would hate to be that that DC trying to prepare for him because with so many weapons that they had at that time, and you just throw in Percy Harvin, it reminds me of like that with our team now because we're so talented across the board. So you get a guy like Legend Bay, Percy Harvin, baby, 2.0.
Urban would have drained the NIL account just to get Legend Bay.
Hey, EJ, with you playing, and you mentioned I don't know if you ever played against Percy, if he was younger than you, but who was the fastest guy that you ever had to cover?
Oh
Who was your
well,
toughest matchup?
so I would have to say in practice it was Ted Ginn, and I remember it like it was yesterday because at that time, like I'm one of the fastest guys on the team, and he made me feel slow because like after I think Coach Tress, like looking back at it now because I'm thinking about it, he wanted to see who was the fastest. So I just remember taking off, like we all, like me, him, and Dante Whitner were all the same, and then all of a sudden Ted just takes off, and like he's like 4 to 5 yards in front of me. And that was the first time that I felt slow. So I was like, oh no, like when we line up in practice, if I don't get my hands on this dude to disrupt his route, it's over. And plus we're in college football, so if he got past me, I'm just gonna tackle him. Because I'd rather give up the 15 instead of the spot on foul. So no, it was definitely Ted Ginn. He like when you hear about the speed and like I'm a competitor. So I'm like, okay, we about to see how fast this dude really is. And I just came back with my eyes up like, ooh, yeah. I just remember telling some of my friends after that practice who wasn't on the team, I was like, you guys, Ted Ginn's gonna do some special things because he just dusted me. Like, and I'm not one of those type of guys just to give props like that, but he humbled me that day.
Was was he one of the? What about NFL? Was he still at the top that you've ever seen, or was there anybody else in the NFL that was close to him?
You definitely had guys like, but you wouldn't know them because they never turned out to be marquee guys or whatever. But taking all across the board, like even when I would watch his games, I'm just laughing at the DBs. I'm like, yep, I experienced that before. So like no, just Ted Ginn across like in college and the pros was a special talent, and you can't coach speed. So that's the one thing that the guy like gifted him and blessed him with, and Ted took it to his advantage and had a successful career both college and professionally.
Okay, but before we dive on to the Jeremiah Smith interview here momentarily, there's a chat I just want to address here, and it's by at Outcasts, and I want people to know how I understand what he's saying, but it's absolutely preposterous, I think, to think that what he's talking about could be replicated. His biggest criticism, JJ hasn't had that Njigba versus Utah type game yet. I'm expecting that this season.
How
with
many
this
people
version
have?
saying was a absurd game. That is not the type of game that we should ever think we're going to see again. It's kind of like the JTT game versus Penn State.
And how often do you get a marquee game like that where the guys are playing running backs at corner and stuff like that? It's like,
so I think JJ is going to have some very big games this year, but to think that he's going to have that, I think that's putting a little bit of false pressure on him right there. I don't think that should be.
I don't know how, and I don't want to be a Debbie Down. I don't know how many big games Jeremiah going to have this year, and I'm not saying he's not great, but you got deep. That's what they're going to be stopping, and you're going to see other people with big games. I think maybe not one individual, but other people collectively. How many other receivers are going to get double and triple teamed every freaking play? Have a safety over top every play. I think when Njigba had that, it was either a zone defense or like you said, a running back was covering him. I don't know how many big games Jeremiah is going to have that he's going to have 150, 200 yards just because they're going to put so much emphasis on stopping him. I hope I'm wrong, but I just that's going to be hard to do. I think with what these guys are going to try to accomplish. So.
But it's like covering Michael. Sometimes you just got to give him his points, man.
Yes.
Sometimes he's going to get his. You know that.
He's going to, yes. Yeah.
So, real quick, before we get off Cortez, Bobby Mack wants to chime in on the wide receiver room. I said this, $5 super chat. Thank you, Bobby Mack. I said it on his TG show. with us rotating at wide receiver, I think we have 8 people with 300 plus yards and 2 with 1,000 and have Sam thrown for over 4,500 yards. That's huge. That's big numbers.
That means we're going deep into the playoffs.
Means we're going deep in the playoffs. But I think that also might not be the best thing as far as what to expect from our running game either.
Well, and that's going to be hard to accomplish when Arthur Smith is a running, offensive coordinator too.
Yeah.
It's going to open it up, but I think we're going to see a lot more balanced attack this year. And in our chat, we had one comment that was great. Mika says, "Shut up, Corey." So
I'm not even sure why this time. I actually was stating truth.
Well, Corey, Okay, so we're going to hop on over to the second segment of our show, guys. And we're going to get ready to talk about Jeremiah Smith a little more in depth because he was at the podium yesterday after practice, and this is exactly what you want to see from your superstar. Because here's a kid that sounded locked in, motivated, completely focused, not talking about the stats, not talking about the headlines, just not talking about any outside noise. He seems really focused and seems to be having the right attitude going on. So we're going to bring on Jeremiah Smith's interview now, and this is what he had to say.
I won't say I think about it, but it's something that's always in the back of my head. I mean, especially after that game, which is always on my timeline on Instagram and stuff like that. So, to be honest, I really don't know what happened. Keontae Scott, he just made a great play, great football player. He just made a great play and just read it. No, I was always gonna be honest.
Can you give an idea of just what programs tried to throw at you?
No comment.
Okay.
JJ,
were you surprised at that?
Surprised that?
Maybe things coming your way offer-wise may or may not be.
No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I knew, especially at the end of that game, that a certain program was going to come at me very hard. But I'm not going to sit on names. I think everybody here know who it was. But I wasn't.
Okay, that focused more on what we're going to talk about in the second half of this question. But for those of you guys who have watched the interview that JJ had, it was about culture. It's about maturity. This is a dude who knows exactly where he wants to be. Guys, what does Smith's reaction tell you about his mindset heading into the season, EJ?
He's very mature and he's been here before, right? Just like Bart said, this year, and I have to agree with him. I think his stats do take a hit just because there's no way that these teams are just going to allow him just to not be double teamed. He's going to get double teamed a lot this year, which is going to open it up, which now that takes you to a whole different type of mental focus, right? Because you're used to being the guy. And then now you know that, hey, I'm gonna be a lot of times out here. I'm gonna be the distraction and the decoy, so that's cool. So I'm gonna still be locked in. And he just like every time Jeremiah talks, he's just so poised, so chill. So like that lets me know he has like good representation around him to coach him up on that type of stuff. And like I said, he's been here before, so regardless of the factor, I still think he does try to go for the Heisman. You know what I mean? Why not? Because you pretty much got a lot of different awards and you've been here at Ohio State. So why not get the ultimate one and by putting your mark on being the best the college football in the game. But a lot of it's going to have to do with Arthur Smith too. How creative he's going to be because that's a lot of pressure. Like you got Chip Kelly a few years ago, and we all know how creative Chip was. Arthur, even last year, I think Pittsburgh's offense was like down in the bottom half of the NFL. So I know you coming to college, and college is a different game. So hopefully, when he gets here, he rebrands himself. And like you said, we have to have the running game going good. So with the running backs we got, if they're not able to open it up, like you don't want to just be a pass first like offense, and as a defensive coordinator, that's the easiest type of offenses to cover and shut down because they're just one dimensional. So he has to bring a lot of different dimensions to this offense, and especially with Jeremiah, line him up all over the place. get the defense like nervous and like scared because the one thing as a corner, when you see the guys bunch up and they're lining up in different places that you haven't seen before, you're like, oh, holy crap, what's going on? So like if Arthur brings that dynamic here and and brings something else to Jeremiah's game, it's gonna be a win-win for everybody in the long run.
Bart, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Um, you, you know what is amazing to me is he seems like a better person or a young man than he is a football player. Just listen to him talk, but how and I keep on saying how lucky we are, but all these other superstars of some of these other teams, and Pavia comes up, that quarterback. He's just a turd. And some of these other great players are just for other teams. They're talking crap all the time. They're just doing stupid, silly stuff. He is just so down to earth. He wants to be great. He was raised by great people. That's the most impressive to me is just the maturity and how much poise he has, like EJ says, but just wanting to be the best. And that's how he got to where he's at, his work ethic and everything. It's just not like yes, he has God given, height, weight, or whatever, but you've got to do something with that. Look, I'm 6'2", and I could be freaking huge and muscular, but I'm not because I don't have his work ethic. He's there for a reason because he outworks everybody. But just the way he talks, he just seems like a better person than he is a football player, and that's amazing to me.
Corey.
I mean, I piggyback off of that as well. I think he is a great person, but I think he's like Randy Moss, early Randy Moss, without the drama. Like he's confident on the field. You could see it in his face when he's open. He doesn't get the ball. He is upset. Doesn't mean he's pouting. Doesn't mean he's not doesn't taking plays off. Whatever. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means he's like, I'm confident and I'm competitive. I can beat my guy. You need to look my way, get me the ball because that's how we're going to win. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a confident football player. It's a confident star. But off the field, kind of reminds me of Paris Johnson in a way. Paris Johnson's an animal on the field, and off the field, he's like a saint. So it's like crazy. But Jeremiah Smith is a hard worker, good leader, and I think there's something else to take away from that press conference or whatever you call those things that he did yesterday. He took the blame for the pick six in the Miami game.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know. I'm not qualified to say it's his fault. I know there's several things on that play that went wrong, and maybe his part was one of them. But he didn't say, "Yeah, well, Julian could have done this, but no, this guy could have done that." But no, he just says, "You know what? I messed up. That's on me, and I'm using it as fuel to get better." Just the leadership of the young man. I mean, we are blessed as fans to get to watch him play. We're blessed as fans, and EJ is an alumni to say this guy is a fellow alumni with EJ, for the rest of their lives. I mean, they're part of the brotherhood. So I think that's just awesome that this kid has not only turned out to be a phenomenal player, but just a phenomenal person.
So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Corey, because I appreciated that he came out and he took that blame and he put that on his shoulders because, like you said, that is real leadership. So let me go ahead and ask you guys this follow-up question about that. We see how he conducts himself in the press conference. We've heard what he did going out and kind of taking that upon himself. How does this change the way, and EJ, you are probably more qualified than any of the rest of us to answer this, but how does this change the way that the other players look at him in the locker room?
Well, when you're a leader, like guys watch you like where you think they're watching you or not, and a lot of these guys right now, I think I will be a prisoner in the moment, like if I was in that locker room right now, I'll just be sitting down, looking to the left, looking to the right, and you see these great players, right? And once you get to a program like The Ohio State University, which is one of the best in the land, that comes with a lot of history. So for him to take a blame, and I'm gonna tell you right now, like I will have to go back and look at that Miami play so I could just really see and study. But if he's taking the blame, that lets me know that that was his fault. Like he should have did something on that play. And you don't have a lot of receivers who come out either collegiately or in the pros to be like, oh, that was my bad. It will be the opposite because I play with a lot of divas. and it was never their fault. You know what I mean? Never their fault. So just a simple to see that character, and if I'm a younger guy like these freshmen that we got coming in right now, you get an opportunity to play with this guy for a year because let's face it, he's going to the NFL after this season. So I am just going to be like a sponge and soak in everything. Like honestly, I would be Kobe Bryant just how he was to Michael Jordan. And he would get so annoyed with me because I would be like, "Hey man, what do you eat? Man, how do you sleep at night? What's your favorite drink?" Like, I'm asking all these questions. What time do you go to sleep? What time do you wake up? Especially if I'm in the weight room because a lot of guys like they lead by example, right? And Jeremiah seems like he's a very soft-spoken dude, so I don't see him like being a rah 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 guy, right? I'm sure he has that in him, but he's more leading by example. So when you have that on your team, and especially like if you're a coach and you see that, you have to feel good because whatever message that you need to get through you go to that player to let them know, like, hey, man, I need you to pick it up because these guys follow you. And that's just a great person to have on your team overall.
Yeah, and Bart, I want to twist that question just a little bit for you.
Well, you want me to twerk real quick? I can twerk.
I don't think you or I even want you to be twerking at all. Okay, so we're just gonna leave that off the
This
air.
program just went down a dark path. I don't know.
I'll do the truffle shuffle for you guys.
Oh my God!
We're gonna tweak that question just a little bit for you, Bart. And I'm gonna tweak that question simply because I know you've done some coaching. So, as somebody who's coached, what does a player who takes that kind of leadership mean to you?
100%. It's just like you expect players like that to take that route. You don't expect play because he wouldn't be a great player if he just threw somebody else under the bus. I have analyzed that play quite a bit, and that was just a great play by the defense. That guy, and it could have been a bad disguise by the offense because he knew what was coming. And the only reason you can get an interception like that is by taking a chance, because if he misses it, that could go for a touchdown. He guessed right, and he made a great play. I don't think it was completely on Jeremiah Smith. I don't think he was in a position to block him. But you need to have a combination of people like him where it's just, like EJ said, just a work ethic and people like that. But you also need some rah-rah guys. Just to get you hyped. And we had and when we had the national championship 2024, we had that. We had that rallying after Michigan game, and we had great leaders. And this is where he needs to step up this year, because I believe last year we didn't have rah-rah leaders. We had Julian saying and him, Brandon Ennis. They're not rah-rah people. They are great people and great leaders. But sometimes the kids who don't respond to that need the rah-rah people. Somebody to just go there and yell at you and get in your face. I don't think he's going to do that. And so that could be a leap that he could make, is become a better leader of getting in people and holding in people accountable. I think Julian Saying could do that because they look to you as a quarterback as your leader. And if he can get in somebody's face, say, hey, you ran the wrong route, or you do this, let me do this. So I that's the thing that you could look at. Maybe he can improve on. But doing that, you expect that out of your superstar. But yeah, that's
something we saw from Caleb Downs a bit last year and the year before, and we saw it from Cade Stover going back as well. These guys were those vocal leaders you talked about. Now, Corey, I got the coach's perspective from Bart. I got the player's perspective from EJ.
Well, I'm pretty useless
as a
here.
fan. I want the fan perspective from you. What does a Jeremiah Smith, that type of player, that type of leader, mean to you as a fan?
I mean, it makes you proud to be a Buckeye fan when you see a kid like that succeed, and just know that he's representing the university. And I'm old enough now, or I'm mature enough now, believe it or not, mature enough now that I can. Yeah, I know sometimes it's questionable. I'll admit that, but no matter what happens this year, whether we fulfill the amazing dream of winning another natty or not, I can just leave proud that kid's been a Buckeye. Like, man, I just hope he tears it up in the NFL. I'll be rooting for him. I don't care if he's playing my team in the NFL. I hope he tears it up. I said the same thing about a lot of Buckeyes, to be honest with you, but he's going to be. I think he's entering that Mount Rushmore of Ohio State status pretty quickly here. And you could put whoever you want on there, like Arch Griffin, Orlando Pace. I think Jeremiah is just going to have to be universally on there. He's going to go down as the greatest receiver in Ohio State, which is saying something, obviously, for the receivers we've had. I'm just so. And as a fan, I'm incredibly proud that he's a Buckeye. But I will say that I want to piggyback off the rah-rah leaders. I'd actually agree. Sometimes it comes from the unexpected circumstances, too. I remember 2004 when Ohio State was 6-4 going in against Michigan. It was in Columbus. EJ, were you on the team then? Or
Oh
okay.
yes, I was on the team. I
And
remember that season.
Well, we all loved how it ended, but
Yeah.
I just remember, was it Thomas Matthews? Correct me if I'm wrong, the linebacker. I don't know if that's his name or not. I apologize if I'm getting it wrong, but I remember it very vividly in my head. He was pumping the team up. He was the rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
He was
T-Mac.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing the camera pinned on the circle there, and all the Buckeye players are just going crazy with him in the middle, amping him up. And I got to admit, as a fan, I started thinking, something might go down today, because we all expected Michigan to be the better team because they were just a better record that year. But obviously, you guys came out and did everything. So sometimes the rah-rah guys just come from guys that the fans aren't even thinking about too much, So maybe that's not Jeremiah's role as the rah-rah guy. He's the leader by example, but you never know. Maybe Ennis is the rah-rah guy or something, So I don't know who it is on this team. I don't know anybody on the team, but I just remember I didn't notice Thomas too much as a player, as a fan, because I'm not privy to, especially in today's world where you have social media where you get to see a lot more camera angles. But I remember seeing that guy. I knew who he was, and I was like, man, he's got them amped up. My goodness, they're ready to go. And clearly they were ready the way they played that game. So I'm saying they as if EJ wasn't there, but you get my point.
Yeah. No. Like, especially for that game, because we just came off a devastating loss against Purdue. And, I don't even want to even think about that because, like, I had an opportunity to sack Kyle Orton on that play where they got the touchdown. And that's one of the plays that, like, if I could have that back, like I was supposed to have an interception that would have went to the house. So I left two plays out there for Buckeye Nation, And so that Michigan game was everything that day. So when, Thomas Matthews, we call him T-Mac, he was definitely pumped because he's a senior. And we didn't want our seniors to go out like that, especially against that team up north.
Hey, EJ, we remember that Purdue game, and we completely blame you because Ohio State fans don't ever forget. So we still blame you for the Purdue loss. So
Hey, I don't. Hey, you know what? I take all the blame. I'm accountable. So no, it was one of those things where I never really had the opportunity to blitz, and that was kind of weird for me coming from high school because they used me all over it. So I remember when I got the call, I was like, "Oh my god, I get the blitz! Oh, I'm gonna mess somebody up!" And then it did in a split moment. I just forgot a key. I forgot to read my key, because of everything going on. So that's one of those plays that keeps me up every once in a while. Used to keep me up a lot back in the day, but still, you want those plays back.
yeah.
So, speaking of getting blitzed, Jeremiah Smith got blitzed a little bit this offseason by people and programs trying to come in and steal him away. We heard the segment earlier with Jeremiah talking about that a little bit. He came out and he said, I wasn't going nowhere. And that tells you two things. First, this is the reality of college football now. If a star is worth enough, people are going to come in. They're going to try to steal him. And the fact is, all bets are off. This is the wild, wild west right now. Second, it tells you that Ohio State still has the kind of pull where even the most sought-after players can look at all that noise and say, nah, I'm good. This is my home. This is where I want to be. You used the word earlier, EJ, culture, maturity. The guy knows where he wants to be and what he wants to accomplish. So a bigger question is this. Is this just the new normal in college football? Are we watching the sport slide into a place where tampering is basically going to become open season because let's face it, to this point, the NCAA has done absolutely zero about it. So, what are your thoughts on that, EJ?
Um, Man, tampering's been going on way before this. Let's keep it all the way honest, right? There's a couple of handshakes here. Hey, go over there, pick up that bag. You might find something nice in there. And I'm pleading the fifth. This is hypothetical speaking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hypothetical.
Hypothetical speaking. No, like when you got somebody like Jeremiah, first and foremost, like he's from that area, the Miami, Florida State, Florida. For Miami to allow him, well, any of those schools to allow him to get out and what he's been able to do at Ohio State has been making a lot of those fans sick. You don't think there's alumni that's calling the AD and say, "Hey, I don't care what we got to do. I want this kid back here. He should have never left in the first place." Now, in Jeremiah's position, and I'm sure his representation heard a lot of nice stuff. But you know what? Where would you leave the greatest impact on your college career? Like, and to me, is at the Ohio State University, right? Um, why would you want to go anywhere when you just had a quarterback establish himself this year was saying you guys are on the same page and anybody doesn't know chemistry is everything. So me as a corner, my job was to disrupt the chemistry between the receiver and the quarterback by throwing them off or just getting them off the route for at least a 1 or 2 seconds because I did my job, right? So Jeremiah was probably looking around like because you're human, right? So who's at Miami this year? Well, they just lost Carson Beck, so it's not that guy. You know what I mean? So do I really want to like go anywhere else where there's not an established quarterback and in the game. No, like I want to stay here. I've already built my legacy here. And let's face it, let's face it, like if Jeremiah would have left, oh my goodness, it would have been just like LeBron leaving Cleveland the first time. We would have had fans burning his jerseys and all this other craziness. And you don't want that, And Jeremiah is the type of kid like that. I feel like he likes people to like him and he wants to be liked and loved. So why go anywhere? Like you have more tradition here at Ohio State than you really do at Miami, in my personal opinion. Because let's face it, Miami fell off for a long time, and they're just now getting back the last few years into like the Miami they once upon a time used to be. So I'm sure the representation heard a lot of numbers, and I'm sure there was some big numbers out there, guys. We probably won't hear about it, but some numbers that like he's looking at his parents like, "Hey, are we sure?" But without a doubt, it's about being loyal. So the fact that that he came out and said like I wasn't going anywhere, I do believe that because you have an established culture, you have an established quarterback, and now you get a chance to be in your third year out there, which the game is going to become extremely slow, guys. I'm telling you, the more years that you play in college football, the slower it gets. So like he has an opportunity to be dominant. So that's why I'm like looking forward to the dominance that he's going to portray both mentally and physically out on the field every Saturday coming up this year.
So, I just want to say that setting fire to a jersey would be much better than what I did to LeBron's jersey when he left because I was
Yeah.
really, really angry.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, I don't want
Bart-
to hear about this.
Bart,
Is it as bad as Bart twerking? I mean,
It's worse.
Hey, I'm a good worker. Enough.
So, Bart, give me your take on this whole situation with college football.
Well,
and the
he,
Tampa.
he came to Ohio State because he wanted to get coached by the best. He wanted to make it to the NFL. If he was all about the glamour and everything, he would have stayed in Florida. Um, and so just talk to this. I had zero doubts he was going to go anywhere. You just listen to it. He's not about the money. He is about being a great college football player. And let's face it, he is going to make a lot of money in the NFL. So, and it tells you a lot. If I am an NFL GM Am I going to get somebody who is going to leave his program and just chase money because the first time I signed that guy and after his rookie contract, he's out because there's zero loyalty. I want somebody who's going to stay with the program, but you don't. It tells you a lot about who transfers and why. Caleb Downs, he transferred because their coach left. But you look at some of the Duke quarterback that went to Miami then. It's like he got a bag of money. He was chasing the money. And he set all kind of records. Now, if he wants to better his career, I get that. But it speaks a lot about your character of how you treat your teammates, how you treat your team, and what you are actually in it for. So I had zero doubt he was leaving anywhere. Because he wouldn't have left in the first place if he's all about the money and glamour. Because I'm sure he was the #1 recruit in the country back in the day. So you can't tell me that they weren't clamoring and giving everything they can to keep him in Florida. So he was more about the football and what Ohio State brought to him and where they could get him at, and they've got him there. Of course, he could have gotten there himself there, but he wasn't going back, and I had zero doubts he was leaving.
Corey.
EJ, can you do me a favor? Remind me who wrecked Miami the first time?
Oh, that would be my 2002 national championship team. And double overtime.
And it shouldn't even have gone to overtime if the refs had made a good call on the Karis Gamble getting held. So.
Yes. Makeup
man.
call because they blew so many that game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, real quick before you forget, EJ, what was your reaction to the interference call in the end zone? Did you think the game was over, and then you had a couple seconds to realize there was a flag, or what was your initial reaction?
So it's funny that you asked that because I get asked this question a lot over the years. The initial reaction, it was like a movie, right? Everything was slow motion. Only thing I really remember was seeing Jonathan Vilma and the other DJ Williams just running out in the middle of the field, like talking crap, celebrating, and everything was just slow, like time, like stood still, and I only had that experience a couple times in my life. That was the first one, and then the next one is when I got an opportunity to meet Beyonce, because I'm not sure if you guys remember the movie Friday. You remember when Nina Long is running, and all of a sudden everything slows down with the music. That's how it was. So it was like everything was slow motion, and I just did not believe that we lost. So when we seen the flag, we was like, okay, yes, yes. Like there was a flag on the play because you guys had messed that up so many times. That whole game, those refs missed so many big calls, and just having the opportunity to, get that penalty, that changed everything for us. So when we had that momentum, I think watching them celebrate because they was so excited to get it over with. When they when they realized it was a penalty, that's when they lost the game right there because they mentally got defeated. They were like, "Oh my gosh, we just had this penalty, we just won." So me being in their shoes because when I was with the Giants, I was with Sonoris Moss. We talked about that. And he's like, yeah, man, it was just all the air went out of us. So, we was a gritty team that year and we played in close games and they didn't. So we just had confidence that we was going to win that game when we get that call.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Corey. You can go now.
Yeah, how dare you? I hated hearing that piece of history about our Buckeyes.
By the way,
It was horrible.
I just watched Friday the other night. Great comic. Great movie. Comic genius. It really is.
Yes.
But I do love the fact that, first of all, I'll say this: Jeremiah is not poor, so he's getting quite a bit of money at Ohio State, and he deserves it. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm sure Miami, the boosters were just like Michael Irvin threw in some freaking. Never mind, I'm not gonna go there. But I mean, it's just like they probably threw a huge thing, and I wouldn't even blame Jeremiah for looking at it. Right? I mean, that's a lot of zeros. But loyalty persists as well. Like you said, EJ, he's comfortable where he is. The grass is not always greener. In fact, Miami last year, yeah, they beat us. I'll give them that, but they've been pretty chaotic as a program for the last 15 years or whatever. So you never know what's going to happen with them. Ohio State's been the most consistent program for the last 35 years. Jeremiah is a legend here already. You taint that legacy if you leave, right? So he gets to stay here one more year. He knows he's going top 3 pick, maybe first pick, whatever, depending on what team does something stupid and passes over him. But because I remember when my Packers passed over Randy Moss, I was ready to scream. So I'm going to be. I don't know what team passes over Jeremiah Smith, just be ready to scream. Like, are you kidding me? You had that legendary generational talent, and you just pass over. Not to mention, we have guys like Chris Carter who are talking to Jeremiah Smith all the time. I mean, Chris Carter's been known to be a great role model and helpful to these young guys. So we have the whole support system, the alumni network, the money, and he's a legend here already, and he's going to go out a legend no matter what this happens this season. So he made a great decision to stay here. And I'm not even just saying as a Buckeye fan. I just think intelligently they probably offer him a ton of money, but if it's just money that motivates you, you're not going to get that far in life, you know. So, and not to mention with his kind of work ethic and his character and integrity, money alone is not going to speak to him.
Hey, if it wasn't for money, we wouldn't be having jobs either. Money motivates us sometimes, but we have to because we have to live.
It's not the money; it's the food and shelter that motivates me.
All right, guys. Yeah. So we're gonna start the last scripted segment of the show, so to speak. The last part that we had planned. Chat, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, have that ready for us when we wrap this next segment up. We will, if we have time remaining, go ahead and hit on some of those.
Hey, Chris, real quick.
Yes.
Ken Taco had a great point here. He said there's a difference between knowing you're the best and trying to prove you're the best. That is a great quote, and that kind of personifies what Jeremiah Smith is. I read that. It's like, that is a great quote. I wanted to bring it up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So black stripe alert. 2 guys lost the black stripe this week, guys. It was Kyle Parker, the wide receiver transfer from LSU, and Earl Little Jr., the defensive back transfer. First 2 Buckeyes to lose their black stripes being transfers. It might tell us a little something, the fact that transfers are the first ones to lose the black stripe. For me personally, I love this for Ohio State. This tells me these guys didn't come in and try to ease into things. They're going after it right out of the gate. They didn't come in to add depth. They came in to compete. They came in to start. A player losing a black stripe this quickly typically means he's already showing up, already making an impression, already making an impact on the team, on the staff, and I think that's big. So as we look at these 2 guys, first of all, let me get your impressions of each of these guys. And after that, we'll move on from there. So, EJ, go ahead, kind of just give me your impressions of what you've seen so far out of these 2.
Well, let's face it, you know, transfers, like, is essentially a college free agent, right? So before you even go to this school, the coaches are doing their homework, you know, and especially at Ohio State, they're not going to bring in any knuckleheads. So, you know, these guys coming in, the coaches knew that, you know, they have pretty good work ethic, and it's been showing. So that lets me know that since they've been here, they've been setting the tone for guys who have already been there. So if I'm guys who've already been in the program, I'm like, man, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? He just got here. He got a black stripe off. So I got to do more. I got to work my butt off more. So it's a positive thing to see because you want to compete. And these guys clearly transferred in because they wanted to come here and compete for championships and playing time. So that is a great sign for those 2 guys. It put more pressure on the other guys in their position groups to get on their game. And why not, man? Like, you come to Ohio State to compete. So I love that. I wish we would have had the black stripe back in the day. You know, so that's new. It's kind of cool for me to see. how the coaches are doing that, but it gives people recognition that they didn't have in the past, especially like when I was playing spring ball, we didn't have that. So, like, now you have something to give guys recognition to put more pressure on everybody else to step their game up, and I love it.
Bart.
I think that'd be a great idea for podcasting. I could put a black stripe right here as a podcaster, then the Podfather can see if I'm really doing good. If I could take it off sometime. And
You probably add a couple, actually.
oh, seriously, Corey? No, you know, those two are some of the more experienced guys we've got in the portal. Um, and that's where they've been and done. They've been here and done that. They know exactly what it takes. And I think I'm with EJ. It's like they've done their homework. They know what kind of character they have and what they're coming in. But Earl Little, I have high expectations for him. I really think he's going to fit in seamlessly. But Kyle Parker, he was kind of an underrated afterthought, I believe. He was like late in the process. He wasn't like the leading receiver for LSU. Uh, but I also thought he was hurt a little bit too. But I don't think we're talking about him enough, and to have his black stripe before any other transfer guys or wide receiver guys, it says a lot. But Cortez knows who he is, and I think he thought he knew that who he was getting and why he wanted to come here. Um, and so, who else knows him better than that? But it just proves that we got the right people in the transfer portal, and I hope they're going to be doing great things this year.
It says a lot that, okay, let's go with Earl Little first. He came from Florida State. That is a dumpster fire of a program right now. He comes to Ohio State, which is infinitely better as a program, a better culture, more higher standards, more hard work, and he's just showing that he wants it. But that black stripe coming off shows you he wants it. He didn't come here expecting to just kind of coast and be on a winning team. He said, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a major player here. I want to work hard. And I wouldn't be surprised if in part he left Florida State. I'm sure money had something to do. I mean, I'm not saying we just gave him like Jeremiah Smith money, but you get my point. I'm sure money had something to do with it, but at the same time, he's probably thinking, I want to go somewhere we can compete. I came here to play football, and we're losing all the time, and there's kind of chaos in the coaching staff and everything. And he can go to Ohio State. Look at the standard they've set. I can be a player here. Same with Kyle Parker. I think is just look LSU under Brian Kelly was just kind of chaotic and kind of overwhelming. What's to say they never finished above their standards that they set. And then new coaching staff comes. He goes, I can go to Ohio State and I could. Great lineage there with history of wide receivers. My wide receivers coach is going there. I can get a fresh start, and I got a great quarterback I'm playing with, and I can enter as one of the more experienced guys right away. So it just shows that their work ethic. They came here and they're serious about it. It's not just an effort just to be on a team that's a great team in a program. It's that they want to make an impact. I really appreciate that in them.
Speaking of competing, Corey, Mean Green is looking. He's willing to pay to see the Podfather and Bart go at it in a cream pie eating contest. That may be something we have to do, some type of charitable.
Does Bart have to twerk as he's eating? Or
that would be bad.
As long as it's banana cream, I can do that. So
you know what, you can't get your black stripe off till you win a pie eating contest.
So is
different set of rules from Ohio State to your.
Somebody had commented in the chat here earlier that last year's transfers really didn't pan out, in their opinion. Is this a sign that this year's portal class is going to be better than what people realized? What do you think, EJ?
Hold on, repeat that one more time. My AirPods.
Well, there was that's okay. There was a person in the chat who said that last year's transfers didn't really pan out the way they thought they would. Do these guys losing their black stripe right out of the gate, does that kind of signify that this year's portal class is going to be better than what most people expected?
I mean, it's definitely excitement about that. I think everything all has to do with like chemistry and the fit with guys coming in, right? So these two guys, you know, they had experience and they're coming to a program that's losing like players on both sides. So they have an opportunity to make a big impact for us. And you know, you want to see that, you know. You definitely don't want a guy transferring in and he's like striking out and he was a miss. We definitely don't want that, you know, because he could have stayed wherever he was at or went somewhere else, you know. So it's just about these guys competing. Um, who wants it more? And honestly, man, just have fun out there. So I just want to like, hopefully, these guys do make a bigger impact than the ones that came in from last year for sure. But like I said, it's still early in the game, so it's very, very positive to hear that these guys got their black stripes off first, and for them to be transfers.
Yeah, I don't think, you look back, I don't think our transfer portals were terrible. Ethan, the offensive lineman, was just god awful. Philip Daniels played all year at right tackle. Max Clare was who he was. Why would he transfer to Ohio State and want to think about you're going to catch a whole bunch of balls at tight end at Ohio State? But he was very serviceable and a good player. So I don't think we were very terrible last year. We didn't hit on every player, obviously. But we were thinking last year this time that our transfer portal was great. We got two great offensive linemen, one of the best tight ends in the country. So I've got to reserve my judgment. It's like I hope that these guys are going to be really good. I have a feeling they will be, but we had this feeling last year where we thought we were going to be really good transfer, and they weren't. I wouldn't say they weren't, but they weren't. They didn't live up to our expectations, which sometimes as Ohio State fans is pretty high. So.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said. Bo Atkinson still has youth. I mean, who knows what he develops into. So maybe he didn't have a huge impact last year, but we got him as a sophomore. It was like, okay, he's not there yet. North Carolina is obviously we're a different animal than North Carolina, very clearly. But that being said, I just think give him a chance. Maybe this year he has a huge impact. Maybe he takes a big leap this year, and then all of a sudden, are you still saying that transfer class was terrible? I think I agree that Ethan was. Disappointment, whatever. But okay. We move on from it. Ryan Day admitted they have to evaluate a little bit better on these positions. I like the potential of this year's transfer class because I don't think it has like the Caleb Downs of the world because that was like a wholly earth-shattering wow. But we have guys that could really contribute and surprise and play really well and be a key factor. I mean, you can't have superstars at every position, even if it is Ohio State. You have to have role players that just fill the role and do their job and do it well. I think he'll take a step up this year, but I think McLean last year was a lot like that. He's more next to Caleb. He's more of a role player who does his job, and he did it well. And I think this year, again, like I said, he'll take a next step. But I'm not trying to diss Jalen. I'm just making a point. But that being said, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, Philip Daniels, does he take another step this year? Does he get better? I mean, he was relatively young last year. I'd like to see him at guard, but I would trust that between Ryan Day, Arthur Smith, and everybody on our staff that they would know a little bit more about it than me. So I don't know. I don't look at it that way. Everybody seems to get mad because Max Clare didn't have 90 catches. Oh, geez, you have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. He wasn't going to come here and get 60 catches. It is what it is. He actually contributed more as the year went on, and quite frankly, the play before the infamous pick six at Miami game, Claire was wide open for a touchdown and saying didn't see him. I mean, it happens. It's part of football. But I also want to touch really quick on what some of EJ said about football being fun. I love that about going back to Cortez Hankton. He mentioned that in his press conference. And I think sometimes the expectations at Ohio State create a little bit of tension, obviously, with the players. And it's nice to be reminded this is supposed to be fun. Football is a fun game to play. And you're playing it at the peak and prime of your life, when you're in the best shape of your life. So it's like, I think that's great that we have coaches with that mentality. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I just keep thinking back to remember the Titans when Denzel Washington's like, is football still fun? Is it still fun? Not even a little bit, is it?
Not fun anymore, is it?
No, but so we're going to two more questions on this, and then we're going to flip over and take a few questions from the chat before we wrap things up for the night. But which of these two transfers do you see making the more immediate impact?
I see Parker. Like just because like he's been with Cortez, so receiver is more seamless. It's a seamless position. You got talent. Clearly he didn't get a lot of opportunities at his last destination, but you get an opportunity to be coached to get coached by your coach again. So his expectation. So that like takes off and relieves pressure, when you got somebody who's in your corner. So I look to see that, he makes a big impact on special teams and, catches some big balls for us during the season.
100% Earl Little because of what we lost in Caleb Downs. That was a position that we desperately, desperately needed to get in the portal, and I think we had a great one. I think Parker, obviously, I think he's going to do. I don't know how many opportunities he's going to have to make a great impact. Like EJ said, maybe special teams is where it's at for him. But Earl Little, I think he's going to make a huge impact, and I think him and Jalen are going to play really well beside each other. So.
I'm going to be a little different tonight, as I usually am anyway. I'm going to go with the kicker, Connor Hawkins. I mean, we've seen how impactful it can be, and hopefully we got a guy who can. By the way, Jade, nice way to make a 57-yarder in pro day. Jeez. But I think Connor, who's made 50-yard game winners, could that change the trajectory of our season a little bit from almost making it to, okay, now we got a guy who can hit get us 3 points from when we need it the most when our offense doesn't quite get it done. But also James Smith, I think no one's going to have an impact on the defensive line. I love the line of scrimmage. I think it's just still the most important position in the entirety of football. And if you don't win the line of scrimmage, you rarely win the game. So I love the fact we added some quality players on the line.
So yeah, Corey, he wasn't really one of the options, but I do love the fact that he went with the kicker.
It was between Earl Little and Kyle Parker. Corey, come on.
No, this is why you think about it. If we have,
we had to stay with the black stripe guys. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I thought you said just transfer.
No, that's okay. We're gonna get there. If we have a really great kicker, Ryan Day has his first national championship a couple years earlier. If we have that kicker, we don't ever hear the words 13-10 from anybody. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if our kicker had performed at the optimum level, it's arguable that we don't lose to Indiana this year in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, I agree.
So I understand where you're coming from. I really do. That being said, last question before we flip over to the questions from the chat. Who do you think is the next player to lose their black stripe? EJ, do you have one?
Oh, man. I don't know.
We got a lot of great ones out there.
You know what? Sincere Johnson, right?
That's
like,
where I'm leaning.
Yeah, like we need to replace some like big shoes at linebacker position, and like this guy, I've been hearing great things about him, so I'm gonna roll with Sincere Johnson. And plus, I was saying this on our show. That's a sweet football name, Sincere Johnson, So, I look forward to hearing that a lot in Ohio Stadium this year. But that's who I'm going to roll with, Sincere.
Bart?
Speaking of Sincere, did you guys see that picture of the linebacker room with their shirts on?
Oh, my gosh. Those guys are ridiculous.
Are jacked. I mean, Garrett Stover, Sincere is huge. Pettyjohn, it's like, there's only two of those guys that are going to be on the field at one time. How do you leave those guys off the field? They are just huge people.
Laurinaitis has completely rebuilt that room.
Yeah. Can you imagine Laurinaitis being in that picture? He looks small probably. Oh my God.
Well, he's skinny now.
He's probably still jacked.
He's not jacked like he was when he played, obviously, but you got to shrink a little bit after you're done playing.
Yeah.
He can't be huge forever.
If he came out with his dad's, shoulder pads on with his spikes, now that would have been a great picture to see. But
yeah, as I said, we call that shrinkage the Dwayne Johnson effect.
Yeah.
When he went to acting, he dropped about 60 pounds of muscle, I think.
Yeah.
You have to, man.
But still cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy that I think is going to be James Smith. I think he is going to be the next one. They've got a lot of great things on him going on right now. He seems like his work ethic. But the other person was Henry Jr., I thought maybe he might. I think it'd be between those two. But I'd look at James Smith just because he's more of a veteran, um, has played, so he knows what it takes. I look for him to lose his black stripe.
I'll just be different and go Henry Jr. He seems to be doing it, holding his own against some not just our young corners, but our experienced corners as well. And what better mentor and role model does he have than Jeremiah Smith? So I think Henry might be a problem even as a freshman.
By the way, you talked about our young corners, Corey. I don't know if you saw the play with Devin Sanchez in coverage on Jeremiah Smith, but that young man looks like he's upped his game a little bit this year as well, and that's going to be a huge factor in how successful Ohio State is this year.
Well, if you remember, the great Jeff Okudah, and I don't say that sarcastically, the great Jeff Okudah, his freshman year, he was getting beat a little bit, and especially in that USC game when Denzel Ward sat out. You obviously knew that wasn't going to be his legacy there, but, corner seems to be, and EJ would speak on this a heck of a lot better than I could. It seems to be something that's like starts off a little slow and then it just leaps out of the sky. It's like that the year 1 to year 2 seems to be a big jump. Am I wrong on that, EJ?
No, you're not. Like, I remember even as a true freshman out there, like, I think the biggest thing in my mind, I was like, there's no way anybody's beating me over top. I'm getting a PI. No, nobody is doing that. So, like, yeah, as a freshman, when I first got out there, my goodness, like, these guys are bigger than receivers that I went in high school. But being at Ohio State at that time, like, we had 6'5" Michael Jenkins, 6'5" Drew Carter, Chris Gamble, Chris Vance. So I had like a lot of different built guys to go against up in practice, which made me feel a lot comfortable in the game. So yeah, a lot of guys out there, it's like deer in headlights. Their eyes get real big. But so just like Okuda, as a freshman, I'm sure he had a lot of that. But then obviously the more he was there, he stayed there. The game became slower and became a lot easier for him. So no, I definitely don't miss those times when you just out there as a freshman and you just try not to get beat because that takes away from your game actually. Because that was my main thing. I was like, no, I'm not getting beat in front of millions of people, not at all. So I'm not even playing around with that.
All right. Well, guys, we've reached that point where we've covered what we planned to cover for the night. So we'll take a couple minutes, maybe roughly 10, 11 minutes here. We will take some questions from the chat. First one was from Bobby Mack, which was, are the only players to lose their black? Yes, these were the only 2 players to lose their black stripes so far. But you know what? They lost them really early into spring practice, guys. So that's a good thing. Let's see here.
Chris, have you heard anything about? And I forget his name, Gilliford, the guy that was rated above Chris Henry Jr., the receiver what was his name?
He has been showing at practice as well, from what I've heard, but I don't know. That's just kind of.
Well, Henry got lost ranking because he was injured a lot last year. So.
Yeah, but you talk
about.
And
I do know that Guilford looked really, really good in the senior game.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
the All-Star game. So I think he's going to push, and don't be surprised if we don't see a lot of guys getting playing time in that wide receiver room.
He's saying he's gonna rotate. I can't wait.
That's
get these
one
young
thing
guys on the
that
field.
He does do, and we saw that at LSU. He rotates a lot.
But okay, do you guys think that they should be? Obviously, they shouldn't be rotating Jeremiah Smith, correct?
They might make an exception for him.
Well, you know what? This is the thing. Maybe you do rotate him a little bit, keep him fresh for the end of the season. I mean, obviously, if you're in a blowout game, you're not going to have him play in the second half of the game.
Yeah, but
if you come out, you're up on Ball State by 40 at the half. You're not letting him see the field the second half.
There was a lot of times we didn't have Tate and Smith on plays that we should have had down near the goal line and stuff like that. I just don't think that you got one more season. You ride that horse as long as you can.
You're not gonna see that this year in Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Bobby Mack says the entire freshman class of wide receivers has looked good, and that I have heard as well. Man, this is a loaded room. It just keeps getting loaded. Right now, Ohio State holds the record for the most consecutive years of the wide receiver drafted in the first round. They've got 5 in the last 4 years.
And
You
Tate's going
count on
first
the fact
round.
they're going to go Tate first round this year.
Next
Next
year.
year, I don't think there's any doubt that Jeremiah Smith goes first round. He could go number 1. He really could. Just depending on what team's there and what their needs are. So yeah, this team is a team that is set up for this for years to come.
If I have a pro team with an established quarterback and I got number 1 pick, there's no way I'm passing on Jeremiah. I don't care.
Well, first of all, you probably wouldn't have the number 1 pick if you had a seasoned veteran at quarterback, though, either. So
well, I mean,
teams out there that have a
the Bengals were able to get Jamar Chase even with Joe Burrow. So I mean,
but he was hurt the whole year too.
True, but I'm just saying it. Okay, have an established quarterback, he gets hurt or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, right.
Whatever if it's that situation, I have a guy I trust to be the quarterback. If I have Brian Drew as my quarterback, I'm going to go Jeremiah Smith.
So we don't have any other questions in the chat. So I've thought about this one, and I want to pose this one to EJ to close out the show. You were a defensive back.
What?
Would you rather face the taller, lankier receiver like a Chris Henry Jr. or the more physical receiver like a Jeremiah Smith?
Oh wow, that is an interesting question. Because how athletic I am, I would want. Actually, I want to like I would do both honestly, but I would rather take Jeremiah just because he's more established, and I want to put him to the test. Like, okay, are you really that dude that I've been hearing about? Because like you might have done all that crap over there to them, but when you come across me, that stuff's not happening. Like, and I took pride in that. Like,
Yeah.
so many fights with receivers because them coming in thinking they're gonna do something and and their butts just get like locked down like we're at Alcatraz the prison because pretty much that's how I looked at my cover skills. I'm locking you down, and I was taught that at a very young age. Now Chris Henry Jr. It looks like he probably would be a little twitchier, than Jeremiah because Jeremiah's so big, so he'd be a little bit more like elusive. But that would have been a fun matchup because I would tell both of them, hey, you could try to throw the fade up in the end zone, and we can do that 10 out of 10 times. So that would have been very very cool experiences to go against two of those great receivers because even Chris Henry's dad, when I had the opportunity to watch him play in Cincinnati, that man was something else. And unfortunately, he lost his life a little way too early because he could have been another one of those greats that we were talking about. But his son, from all the like highlights and I've been watching, seems like he has a lot of his dad's skills. But yeah, I would definitely have to roll with Jeremiah first, and then see what Chris Henry, how good he was too as well.
I'm gonna back up on that question real quick. EJ is okay. A physical receiver that you can get handsy with, or a
Mhm.
Tyreek Hill kind of person, just fast, twitchy. He's not physical, but just has good moves, good hands, and just is all over the place. What would you
Well,
rather
it,
do? The physical part?
um, I like a challenge, right? The physical part, like me knowing playing corner, I'm getting my hands on you regardless. So I know with that physical receiver, like, hey, that mindset, I'm putting my hands on you all the time just to knock you off your timing. Tyreek would have definitely been like a Ted Ginn to me because now I'm like, okay, I'm fast. He might be faster, so I have to come up with a much different game plan for him because I know if I do not get my hands on this dude, it's over. So I would like over like that would be the big emphasis for me that week. Like, hey, can you stay after practice with me, a couple receivers, because I need the fastest, twitchiest guy so I can replicate what I would get if I would go against Tyreek. So definitely, I would like to probably do the Tyreek thing just because I'm a challenge dude, you know. So I put my skill set with up against anybody. So that would have been a tremendous a lot of fun with me. And I feel like Tyreek talks a lot of trash, so we would have been going back and forth and some good banner with that, you know. So
I
I
think
love challenges like that.
I think one of the most underrated things that you were talking about is getting somebody off there. I think that's most the underrated thing is that getting off the line, either as a defensive back or a wide receiver, getting that push. As a receiver, if you can get off that line cleanly, you can get a huge advantage. Also, as a defensive back, cornerback, if you can get him off his route a little bit, huge advantage. I
Yes.
think that is the most underrated that some of these receivers, the great receivers, can get off that line fast without and the hands. And it looks like Jeremiah can get off that line, but you're not going to see too many people up there in his face in college and say, "Hey, I dare you to
Nah.
go one on one with me." In the NFL, probably it'll happen, but not in college. But yeah, were you pretty good at that? I'm assuming you were pretty good at that.
Yes, that's actually like even like for my sophomore year when I was at Lakota East, we played Dayton Wayne. So I was going up against John Hollins and Will Allen's team. And John Hollins at the time was the number one receiver in the state of Ohio. And my coaches as a sophomore, like and I'm playing with like nothing but seniors out there. They gave me the opportunity, like, hey, man his ass up. And they tried to bomb on me like 5 times and nothing was happening. So that's where my like it goes all the way back from my dad coaching me and my brothers up to be DBs because he had got coached by the great Dick Night Train Lane. So I come from that type of mindset of being physical, and playing my technique, and I was a big technique guy. So
Mhm.
like past relationships I were in, like the women would just be like, "What are you doing?" And I would just be in the house like doing footwork. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just doing DB stuff." I was like, "Matter of fact, you can come help me real quick. I need you to step this way and step that way, so I can get my jams on." So guys like Jeremiah, I'm sure he's like watching film, say, okay, how can I beat this DB? And you're right, Bart. Throwing the timing off is so key, and that's how these corners become great. Because if I have a guy that I know, regardless of the factor that he's gonna like disrupt whatever said receiver or tight end comes his way, you know what I mean? That's winning as a coach. So a lot of these guys they don't understand that, and it drives me crazy when I see these DBs just give these guys open releases, and then they wonder why they get beat because you didn't disrupt nothing, like oh my goodness, like we used to have film, and if you did not put your hand on the receiver at that time, well, it was gonna be a long film session. And I've been a part of those with other guys that I play with, and you just kind of cringe. You're like, "Oh my goodness, like again?" Like again, like so no, it's all about timing and disrupting it, and that's what I took pride in.
All right, guys. Hey, that's going to do it for tonight's OHIO Podcast Sunday Night Roundtable Show. Huge thanks to Dr. Corey, Buckeye Bart, and EJ Underwood for bringing the heat tonight, guys. Really appreciate that. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please like, subscribe, share this video and all of our content with your fellow Buckeye fans. Let's keep this community growing. Don't forget, join our Patreon community where you can get exclusive content, and access to all 4 of our message boards, Vader's blog, members only programming like our Game Watch parties, my What Drives Me Wild segments, Talking Buckeyes with Boggsy, and other things on there as well. That all starts out at just $5 a month. We got tons of new content coming your way. Also, don't forget, guys, only 20 days from our fan appreciation tailgate at the spring game. That's going to be April 18th. We're going to have some free food, some giveaways, some prizes. And hey, guys, by the way, you never know who's going to stop by at our tailgates. We've been prone to have a few former Buckeyes stop by. So, guys, stop on by, have some free food, hang out with us, talk a little Buckeyes, both before and after the game. And other than that, guys, I am the Wild Man, Chris Wilds, for Dr. Corey, for Buckeye Bart, for EJ Underwood. Let me just say good night, God bless, and go Bucks. OH!
Ayo.
Ayo!
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Bart's wrong.